everyone, welcome to another episode of A Grown Man Talks About a Children's Trading Card Game. We are about halfway through the Vanguard Set 1 set review, and we're going to be talking, not halfway, this is exactly halfway, and we're going to be talking about Keter Sanctuary, widely regarded as featuring the best deck in the format. Do I agree? It's pretty good. Let's get started, let's not dither around, but before I do want to remind you to please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, like the video, and hit the bell. I don't know, PayPal me some money if you, fuck it. I don't have an OnlyFans. I'm not going to make that joke. Let's get started. Triconnect Sorceress is the starter for the Hexa Orb ride line. No one cares. Tier Square Sorceress. So when it's rode upon by the grade 2, you counterblast 1 draw. That's pretty good. And act on rear once per turn. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, you can counterblast 1 to choose one of your opponent's front or rear guards and put it on the bottom of the deck. Putting it on the bottom deck is actually pretty nice because that can screw with things that want to revive. It's actually really nice because, you know, if you just bottom stack like Valrena or something, or any of like Zorga's things. Now granted, it's probably going to be less effective against Zorga, but I can imagine slapping an overdressed unit to the bottom of the deck is quite an inconvenience. The downside, of course, it is a counterblast, so that's already a reasonable amount of counterblast you're dedicating to this card, but it is a strong effect and in some scenarios absolutely worth using. Next is Pentagleam. When this is rode upon by Hexa Orb, you look at the top 3 and then you stack them however you want. That's pretty nice. Based on rare, you look at the top card of your deck, put it on the top or bottom of your deck, and if you put it on the bottom, it becomes a 12k. The 12k does not matter, totally irrelevant, no one cares. The fact that you do get to top check is kind of nice. It's just going to help you filter through for those triggers. So it's, you know, it's okay. I do like that this is a very generic effect, so you could just play this in anything, though the way Vanguard has worked in the past is you probably wouldn't. Like, good stuff is much less of a thing in Vanguard. You just tend to play your archetype synergies, but you know, we will see how this goes. Again, very solid ride line effect, obviously stable in ride line. In main deck, sort of tradable. It's a good effect, but if you found better value elsewhere, I wouldn't sort of give you any shit for choosing not to play this. And the big grade 3, the reason you're playing this deck, act on Vanguard. When you drive check reveals a trigger unit, choose one of your rear guards and it gets 10k until the end of the turn, so this just doubles trigger power. Let me just say, that's really good. Like, 10k is very impactful in D. Like, that's, you know, that's 2 additional cards or just making something unguardable, so, you know, pretty powerful effect there. And act on Vanguard once per turn. If you Persona Road this turn, counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, reveal up to 1 critical trigger or front trigger from your hand, stack it on top, and you get to get an additional drive check. So you get that card back. You're not negging. You know, the fact that, you know, you can guarantee it as long as you hold the trigger. It's also going to give another 10k due to its own ability. It's pretty powerful, but you know, how good is guaranteeing triggers like once per turn? I mean, it's pretty good, don't get me wrong. It's scary, certainly, but you're not really doing anything else. You're just improving your odds of hitting triggers and then just being kind of vanilla. And, you know, this deck is really prone to just getting unlucky. Like, if you just don't see triggers, then what do you do? You know, like, it's hardly a guarantee you're going to see them. And, like, you know, I can imagine a few worse feelings than riding up to grade 3, looking at the top 3 and just seeing 3 of Hexa Orb or something and you going, oh, okay, sick. I'm screwed. You know, not ideal, but yeah, it is what it is. I think it's okay, but nothing spectacular. I saw some people saying like, oh, but you get to guarantee the overtrigger. Bro, you're like, you're not guaranteeing shit. Like, you like the first turn, maybe you make it happen on your turn instead of your opponent's turn, but it's in the top 3. So you were gonna, like, I think there's a pretty strong argument to just leave it on the bottom if you're not going to immediately kill your opponent that turn, which, to be fair, you might not, because, you know, the Keter Sanctuary overtrigger, which like gives you additional drive checks, might not be that useful to you, compared to ending your opponent's turn, essentially. So you're probably even not going to, like, leave it there. You're not, like, guaranteeing shit. It was already there. Like, the only thing that guarantees anything is the grade 2, which marginally improves your odds by looking at the top. Oh, was it a trigger? Cool, this did nothing. Oh, it wasn't a trigger? Okay, I get to improve my odds a little bit. I don't know, Chief, doesn't seem like it's doing that much to me. Here are the triggers, which are, you know, cool. On to the first order here. If you have 3 more units, this is a 15k Blitz order. I mean, you will probably have 3 or more units, especially in Bastion, which just like shits out units as part of the ride line. So yeah, this is pretty good at like at least 2, I would think. Of course, it is an order, so it's not like you can just use them willy-nilly as much as you want, as would make sense for like a Blitz order if you're just including these as shields. But anyway, yeah, this is an okay card at a couple copies. Next we've got Swinging Sword of Judgment. So you Soul Blast 1 grade 3 with this, so you have to have kind of Persona Road. You choose one of your opponent's rear guards. Your opponent puts all their rear guards in the same column as that rear guard on the bottom of the deck in any order. So, you know, for Soul Blast 1, nuking a whole column is pretty good. Granted, Keter... I think Keter can pretty much afford the soul. That's not really an issue. The fact that you do have to have Persona Road essentially to make this like usable does kind of suck, but it's a fair restriction because it's a very powerful effect. I think this is something that you know, you would want to be playing at a couple copies, and it's usable. It's very generic. I think you should play this at a couple copies. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a grade 3 as well, so that's, you know, more consistency for Bastion. Next, we've got Swordsman of Heavenly Winds Weckle. This is just a 10k booster. These are nice to have. It's fine. You know, yeah, I can see you. I can certainly see you playing this over the Ride Line Grade 1 in Bastion, that's for sure. Next, we've got Divine Sister Pastolito. Once per turn, when you reveal a trigger unit in drive check, you can Soul Blast 1 to buff this by 5k. That's quite nice, potentially ripping another card out of your opponent's hand. This essentially turns a trigger into like Soul Blast 1, give this like 25k with Hex Orb, which is scary, certainly. But, you know, your opponent either just lets it hits or PGs, so, you know, it's kind of all doing the same thing. When the numbers get big enough, it's kind of like, alright, well, you're just forcing a PG or they're just taking it at that point. Is it worth the Soul Blast? Probably. Next, we've got Remission, Sword Fanuelle. When this unit attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, counterblast 2, and this gets +1 crit at the end of the battle. Let me tell you, you ain't got that counterblast in Bastion. You ain't. Maybe in Hex Orb, but doubt. Next, we've got Divine Sister Lapisto. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, cost counterblast 2, stand this unit and it gets +5k until the end of the turn. I much prefer this as for my counterblast. Like, getting an additional attack for me seems more valuable than just getting a crit. However, then you have to attack with this first, which means that you can't buff it up prior to the attack. So, I mean, it just doesn't synergize together very well, because you would want to swing with your triggers first to buff everything. Yeah, I mean, because the reason this feels kind of bad is if you, the way you would do this is, okay, you have to swing with it. You're committing that counterblast, like, immediately, essentially. And, of course, if you don't hit the trigger, then this feels really bad. Well, I suppose it doesn't feel that bad if you don't hit the trigger, because you weren't going to buff it up anyway. But, yeah, it's okay. It's just, very counterblast heavy, so it seems like much more viable in Hex Orb than Bastion. Next, we've got Actual Analyst Kokabiel. If your Vanguard's Apex Ruler Bastion, this gets +5k for every 2 of your grade 3 units. It includes this unit. So I'm reasonably sure... does this include units in the Guardian Circle? Not 100% sure. This is kind of easy, just staple, because you will guaranteed have 1 as your Vanguard, so as long as you have another grade 3 on board, this is a 5k shield, which means it's a grade 3 that's a 5k shield, which means that you get to include your consistency, improve your consistency at essentially no cost to your shield ability. So yeah, this is fantastic in Bastion. Staple. Next, we've got the Staple PG that's strictly better than the starter deck one, so you play 4. Next, we've got Divine Sister Fakiata. Once per turn, you can when you drive check a trigger unit, you can Soul Blast 2 to countercharge 1. This is pretty nice in Bastion. It's also, nice enough in Hexa Orb, but Hexa Orb seems like it a lot of ways it kind of wants to Soul Blast already, whereas Bastion you can definitely kind of afford to do this for the countercharge, because having that additional counterblast is really, really nice, because Bastion definitely needs the counterblast. I play this at like 2 in my Bastion build. It's nice. Next, we've got Divine Sister Tartine. When it's placed on rear, you Soul Blast 1 and rest the unit. Look at the top 2 cards from your deck. Choose a card from among them, put it on the top of your deck, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So this is a nice way to this is a nice way to potentially stack triggers, but you do rest this, so you don't get to attack with it that turn, or boost with it that turn, and it costs a Soul Blast, and it might not even do anything, so... Yeah. And, like, you know, it's checking the top 2, so, like, if there was a trigger there, you were already going to hit it, right? Like, it's not like that's changing. You just increase your chance from 0 to... I mean, like, the thing is, like, if there are 2 triggers there, you just lost one of them. And if there weren't 2 triggers there, there's still no guarantee that you're going to hit 2 triggers. So, like, I don't know, it doesn't seem that strong to me. Great Snake Witch Solaria. If this card is discarded from your hand during your turn, you can counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to draw a card. That's nice, like kind of like a ride decky thing, just as a way to gain advantage, but kind of resource intensive in 2 decks that really need all their resources. Next, we've got Dark Strain Dragon. If you have 3 or more grade 3 units, you can Soul Blast 2 and all your grade 3 units get boost until the end of the turn. Like, that's fine, but this is like kind of like a once per game kind of thing when you'd realistically be able to do that. And you're sort of building your deck around doing things before your final push. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I've said my piece on overtriggers. I hate them, but this one's pretty good. Painkiller Angel, auto on rear. At the end of this battle, the unit boosted. You can Soul Blast 1 to retire this unit to draw. That's pretty nice. But again, lots of Soul Blasting, so you're going to have to be very careful where you choose to use those resources. And it is just a wash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a wash. It's not like it's plussing you. Knight of War Damage Facade. It cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and when its unit attack hits, you counter charge 1 and soul charge 1. Yes, it's staple in Bastion. Pretty nice in Hex Orb too, just for gaining resources. Like, yeah. Yeah. This is amazing in Bastion. And the final card in this Keter Sanctuary review is Great Heavenly Sword Alden. So when this is placed on rear, you counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1, choose a card from your hand and call it to rear. If you call it grade 3, you draw 2, so this is just a straight +2. And auto on rear, when this unit attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, it also gains 5k. So it becomes an 18k attacker, which means if you slap any kind of boost behind it, it's 23k, which is the threshold for forcing a trigger or a shit ton of cards. So yeah, this card is fantastic. One of the big reasons Bastion is so good. So, overall impressions of Keter Sanctuary. Bastion is obviously very strong. It's I've seen a lot of people saying it's the best deck in the game. Maybe. I don't think it's as strong as people are sort of saying. I think it's being overhyped quite a lot. And certainly, like, the disparity between, like, Bastion and other decks is being hyped. Like, I'm seeing Bastion in, like, S tier, and then, like, everything else, like, there's nothing else in S tier. It's all, like, below, like, chill out, bro. Bastion's pretty good, but it's hardly, you know, unbeatable or anything. Like, it's fine. It's a very strong deck, but it's definitely not unbeatable. I will say, though, like, it's definitely top 3. Even if it isn't the best, it's definitely top 3 very easily. Hex Orb seems like bottom 3. Really doesn't really do anything special. Seems very boring, vanilla, uninteresting to play. Just bad, not interesting, boring, whatever. Hopefully it gets more interesting in set 2 because, you know, it's the OTTs thing, so maybe, you know, you'll be able to big brain it and stack loads of things. But there we go. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Vanguard content. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did I just get everything wrong? Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.